What if the only person who could save your life was a child no one believed in? On a freezing winter night in Chicago, a young girl screamed for help as her mother, a federal prosecutor, lay bleeding in the snow. No one stopped. No one cared. Until a ragged boy emerged from the shadows with skills no one expected, and a story that would change everything. But who is he? And what dark truth is he hiding behind those storm-hardened eyes? Before we unravel this chilling story of loss, justice, and unexpected family, drop a comment below. Would you trust a stranger if they were your only hope? Now let's begin. Orphan, Chicago's outskirts were buried under a merciless blizzard that night. The wind howled through narrow alleyways like a wounded animal, rattling old windows and painting every street corner with ice and dread. The amber glow of street lamps flickered beneath a thick curtain of snow, barely cutting through the darkness. Running barefoot across the frozen sidewalk, Emily Carter, a 9-year-old girl with a thin frame and long chestnut hair plastered to her cheeks by sleet, stumbled through the storm. Her breath came in sharp, ragged bursts as she cried out into the night. Her pale skin was blotched red from the cold, her navy school coat soaked through. "They killed my mom," she screamed, voice cracking in desperation. "Please, someone, she's bleeding. There's so much blood." No lights turned on. No doors opened. Emily collapsed at the foot of a shuttered bakery, the cold seeping into her bones. Her small fingers trembled as she tried to wipe away the snow collecting on her lashes. She tried again, weaker this time. "Please." Then, a sound. Footsteps crunching through the snow, deliberate but light. From the mouth of a nearby alley, a boy emerged. He looked no older than 11, but there was nothing childlike in his expression. He wore a threadbare army green jacket 2 sizes too big. The sleeves rolled and frayed. His jeans were torn at the knees, and his sneakers were mismatched. Wild brown hair poked from under a black beanie, and his dark eyes, sharp as broken glass, scanned her quickly. "You said your mom's name is Rebecca Carter?" His voice was low, not hesitant, but cold. Too calm for someone his age. Emily blinked. Yes. She's a prosecutor. They shot her, I think. She fell and there was blood." The boy looked toward the alley behind him. "Get up," he said simply. "We don't have time." Emily stared at him. "Who are you?" "I'm Liam," he muttered. "Now move." He reached for her hand without waiting for permission. It was rough, calloused, not the hand of a pampered child. She let him pull her up. They ran, snow crunching underfoot. The alley loomed ahead, shadows bending like open jaws. When they turned the corner, Emily gasped. The blood was still there, thick, red, steaming, but her mother was gone. The alley was narrow, cloaked in shadow, the snow muffling all sound but the girl's shivering breath. Liam released Emily's hand and knelt where the blood had pooled. His eyes scanned the ground, darting like a searchlight. No body. Just a half-frozen purse, shattered phone, and one glove soaked crimson. Emily hovered beside him, frozen in place. Her eyes welled, lips trembling. "She was right there," she whispered. She was breathing. I saw her hand move." Liam didn't speak. He pressed 2 fingers to the blood stain, feeling the residual heat. "She's alive," he muttered. They didn't have time to finish. Emily stared at him, bewildered. "How do you know that?" Liam stood, brushing snow from his knees. "Because they left sloppy. Rushed." He pointed to the streak marks, dragged footprints heading toward the rear exit of the alley. "They moved her." Emily's knees buckled and she collapsed against the wall. "I should have stayed with her. I shouldn't have run." "You ran for help," Liam said flatly. That's not weakness. She looked at him again, really looked this time. Under the dirt and defiance, there was something older in his face, something tired. "Who taught you this?" she asked, voice small. He hesitated for the first time. His jaw tightened. "My father," he said quietly, "before they killed him." Emily flinched. The weight of those words settled in her chest like ice. Liam didn't wait for a response. He moved swiftly to the edge of the alley and peered around the corner, eyes narrowing. "Ambulance is coming. I hear the sirens," he said. True enough, red lights began to flicker in the distance. Liam turned back to Emily. "You stay. Go with them. Don't talk about me." "But you," she started. He was already gone, a blur of movement into the blizzard, swallowed whole by snow and silence. Minutes later, when paramedics found Emily huddled beside the trail of blood, she could barely speak. One officer crouched beside her. "Who helped you?" he asked gently. Emily looked toward the alley, then back at the ground. Her voice came out hoarse. "I don't know. He didn't give a name." Rebecca Carter woke to the sterile hum of machines and the smell of antiseptic. A faint ache spread along her side where the bullet had grazed her. Her vision blurred at first, then slowly sharpened. The room was white, too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. At the foot of her bed sat Emily, her face pale and swollen from tears. Her small hands twisted the edge of her blanket. "Mom?" she whispered. Rebecca's throat was dry. "Emily, what happened?" Emily's voice quivered. "They attacked you near the school. You fell. There was blood, but a boy helped you. He stopped it. He saved you." Rebecca frowned, trying to recall, but memory failed. Just flashes of cold, darkness, a hand pressing against her wound. "A boy?" "His name's Liam," Emily said softly. "Liam Brooks." The moment that name left her daughter's lips, Rebecca froze. Her pulse quickened. Daniel Brooks. Megan Brooks. Faces she had once known, laughing over coffee, swapping shifts at the station. Daniel had been a rescue officer with unshakable integrity. Megan, a gentle nurse who brought calm wherever she went. 6 months ago, both had died in a highway collision, a case closed as a tragic accident. Rebecca had attended their funeral, her heart heavy but unquestioning. Until now. Her mind reeled. Liam survived? Emily looked at her mother with wide, trembling eyes. "He said they killed his parents, Mom. Not an accident. He said it was murder." Rebecca's hand gripped the sheet. A sharp pain shot through her ribs, but she didn't let go. She whispered to herself. Then someone made sure that file stayed closed. Outside the window, the snow kept falling, soft but endless. Emily turned toward the sound, as if sensing something. She rose, tiptoeing to the glass door leading to the small balcony. "Emily?" Rebecca called faintly. But the girl had already pulled the curtain aside. There, in the swirl of white, stood a boy. Thin, still, his hair matted with frost, his gaze steady and unflinching. Liam. He didn't move, didn't smile, just waited, as though the storm itself had led him back. The cabin was old but solid, nestled deep in a snow-covered forest 2 hours north of Chicago. The wood crackled softly in the fireplace. Rebecca sat at the worn kitchen table, still pale, her arm wrapped in gauze. Across from her, Liam sat stiffly, fingers curled around a chipped mug of cocoa he hadn't touched. His face looked older in the firelight, no longer just a boy, but a witness. Emily slept in the next room, her breathing steady. Rebecca's voice was low. "Tell me everything." Liam looked up, his dark brown eyes carrying a weight far too large for his 11 years. It wasn't an accident. The night before my parents died, Dad finished a report. He told me just before I went to bed. Rebecca leaned in, her brow furrowed. He found out the murder last year. The warehouse thing? It wasn't just gang stuff. It was a cover-up. Someone high up in the police force gave the order. Dad had names, documents. He said he was going to turn it in the next day. Rebecca's heart thudded. And then, the crash. Liam nodded. The brakes failed. A truck came out of nowhere. She hesitated. Why didn't you go with them that day? I had stomach pain, fever. Mom said to stay home. His voice cracked. I was supposed to die too. Silence stretched. Rebecca's eyes shimmered. Do you have anything left? From your father? Liam stood and slowly reached into the lining of his ragged coat. From a hidden pocket, he pulled out a small object wrapped in plastic. A USB stick, scratched, weather-worn, but sealed tight. He gave it to me the night before. Said to hide it. Told me to trust only one person, someone who believed in truth. Rebecca stared at it. And that's me? I don't know, Liam said. But you didn't die. That means something. Just then, the old rotary phone on the wall rang. They both froze. Rebecca rose slowly and answered. There was no voice, only a low hiss of static. Then a male voice, distorted and cold, repeated one sentence. Let the Brooks case die, or your daughter won't wake up. Snow fell in thick sheets, cloaking the cabin deep in a forest near Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. The air was brittle, silent, except for the slow hum of an old radiator and the occasional crackle of logs in the hearth. Rebecca sat at the small wooden desk in the study, poring over old documents lit by a flickering desk lamp. Her face was taut, eyes scanning names and signatures with precision sharpened by years in courtrooms, but now fueled by fear. Liam sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through his father's leather-bound notebook. Emily, bundled in a quilt on the couch, drifted between sleep and worry, clinging to a stuffed animal, too young to understand all the danger, yet old enough to sense every adult's silence. Rebecca broke the quiet. Here's something. Her voice was tight. Daniel filed a secondary report 2 days before the crash. It listed officers who handled internal accident investigations. Most were routine, except this name. She tapped it. Raymond Hale. Internal Affairs, Deputy Chief. He's the one who closed the Brooks file in 48 hours. I argued with him once. He shut it down like he was afraid of what might crawl out. Liam's fingers gripped the notebook. You think he's the one? I don't think. Rebecca's jaw tightened. I know. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Liam wandered to the frosted window, brushing away condensation. His breath caught. A black SUV sat silently beneath the trees. Engine off. Lights dead. Just sitting. He blinked. It was gone. Not a tire track. Not a sound. Liam stepped back, heart thudding. Rebecca, I think we've been found. The wind swept across the downtown Chicago with a familiar bitterness. But today, it wasn't the cold that made Rebecca Carter's heart tremble. It was the weight of what lay ahead. The Hall of Justice loomed before her like a stone fortress, its white pillars rimmed with snow. Inside, warmth flickered not from hearths, but from truth on trial. Liam sat beside her in the waiting chamber, his posture stiff, eyes focused ahead. He wore Daniel's old dark blazer, slightly oversized on his thin frame, but it gave him strength, like armor forged not of cloth, but memory. Rebecca reached out, touched his hand gently. You don't have to do this. I do, Liam whispered. Not just for him, for everyone who won't be heard unless someone speaks. Moments later, the chamber doors opened. A sea of solemn faces filled the auditorium. Judges, prosecutors, internal affairs, law enforcement brass. Raymond Hale stood near the center, polished badge gleaming, eyes cold and confident. He didn't know yet that his silence had expired. Rebecca stepped to the podium first, voice clear and controlled. She outlined the inconsistencies in the crash investigation, the rushed closure of Daniel Brooks's file, and the sudden disappearance of key evidence. Then came Liam. He stood slowly, trembling slightly, but rooted in resolve. His voice, when it came, didn't waver. My father died because he believed justice could still exist. He trusted the badge. He thought it meant something. From his jacket pocket, Liam pulled out a small, worn USB drive. This contains the report my father filed. Names, dates, a witness account. He entrusted it to me. A murmur rippled through the room. As the evidence played, Raymond Hale's face lost its color. The room turned cold, not from weather, but from realization. The gavel struck. Deputy Chief Raymond Hale, the presiding judge intoned, "You are hereby placed under arrest pending formal charges of obstruction of justice, conspiracy, and falsification of evidence." Liam exhaled. For the first time in a long while, the snow outside seemed gentle. Not a threat, but a cleansing. Montbrun's 3 months had passed since the gavel fell, and the city felt different now. Safer, quieter. But in a quiet suburb far from the city's unrest, something more profound was happening. Not justice in court, but healing in a home. Liam Brooks, now 12, stood by the window of his new room. The walls were freshly painted in soft green, the bed had a blue comforter with stitched stars, and a tiny bookshelf held more than books. It held safety. He gazed at 2 framed photos on the dresser. One showed his parents, Daniel in his rescue uniform, Megan in a pale blue nurse's coat, both smiling. Next to it, a new photo. Rebecca in a gray sweater, her arms gently around Emily and Liam. Their smiles didn't match perfectly, but they were real. Behind him, Emily barged in with a laugh, dragging a tray of cookies. "Mom said we should let them cool first, but rules are flexible for heroes." "Is that what I am?" Liam asked, a faint grin creeping in. Emily nodded proudly. "You're my big brother now. You get honorary cookie privileges." He sat down beside her, warmth blooming from something deeper than the heater near their feet. Later that evening, Rebecca stood in the hallway, watching them from the door. Her eyes, once shadowed with fear and fury, now held something quieter, peace. She had filed the adoption papers herself, hand-signed every line with unwavering resolve. Liam was her son, not by blood, but by choice. That night, as the world outside dozed under a blanket of snow, Liam opened his worn notebook. In neat handwriting, he wrote, "I used to think family was where you came from, but now I know. It's where you're not left behind." The final scene unfolded beneath a sky of soft flakes. At the snowy cemetery, the 3 of them stood before the headstones of Daniel and Megan Brooks. Liam knelt, brushing snow from their names, whispering, "I'm alive, Mom, Dad. And this time, I'm not alone." In the quiet corners of life, miracles rarely come with thunder or applause. They arrive in whispers, a child's cry heard, a stranger's hand extended, or a heart choosing love over fear. Liam's journey reminds us that God's grace often works through the smallest acts. A rescued life, a warm home, a second chance. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment about the moment that moved you most. And subscribe so we can spread kindness together. May God bless every viewer who carries this light forward.